in a safe environment where she could learn, grow, and express herself freely. And because of that, she believes every child deserves.
Then, to the astonishment of people nearby, she stepped out of the car and walked back toward the little girl. The child, 3-year-old Lily Rose Logan, had been waiting excitedly outside, hoping for even a tiny glimpse of the princess. Instead, she suddenly found the future queen standing directly in front of her. Catherine smiled warmly and said she had heard her calling from all the way back there and simply wanted to come say hello personally. The interaction instantly melted hearts online. But then the moment became even sweeter. Little Lily proudly handed Catherine her favorite squishy toy banana, a treasured possession for any toddler. Rather than brushing it aside politely, Catherine accepted it with complete seriousness and gratitude, treating the gift as though it was something incredibly special. For a small child, that reaction matters enormously. Children often remember not the grand gestures but the moments adults take their tiny world seriously. Catherine seemed to understand instinctively that handing over a favorite toy was a huge act of trust from a 3-year-old. Another charming interaction happened during the opening of the Young V&A Museum, where Catherine spent time listening to children excitedly explain their imaginative stories and creative ideas. As the children enthusiastically talked over one another, describing characters, adventures, and games, Catherine laughed and revealed something many parents instantly related to. "My children tell me stories all the time too," she admitted with a smile. It was such a simple comment, yet people loved it because it reminded them that despite the royal titles, palace life, and constant media attention, she is still a mother first. That relatability has become one of Catherine's greatest strengths in public life. She rarely presents herself as untouchable. Instead, she often connects through shared parenting experiences, listening to children ramble about imaginary worlds, encouraging shy kids to speak up, or laughing at the unpredictable things children suddenly say in public. As mentioned earlier, one issue especially close to Catherine's heart is early childhood development. That passion became the center of attention when she joined a group of 4- and 5-year-olds at the National Portrait Gallery to launch a major initiative from the Royal Foundation Centre for Early Childhood. The project focused on helping children build emotional and social skills from the very beginning of life, something Catherine has repeatedly described as one of the most important investments society can make. During the visit, cameras captured her sitting directly alongside the children, listening carefully to their thoughts, encouraging them during activities, and engaging with them at eye level instead of towering above them formally. But what truly made the moment resonate was hearing Catherine explain why this issue matters so personally to her. For years, many people wondered why the Princess of Wales had chosen early childhood development as one of her signature causes. During the launch of her Shaping Us campaign, she finally explained it in deeply personal terms. Catherine said society often focuses enormous energy on later stages of life while overlooking the years that shape everything else emotionally, mentally, and socially. She emphasized that a child's earliest experiences influence future relationships, emotional resilience, communication skills, confidence, and mental health well into adulthood. According to Catherine, creating supportive, nurturing environments during childhood can literally shape the future of society. What made the campaign powerful was that she communicated the issue emotionally rather than politically. She spoke less like a public figure promoting a program and more like a parent who genuinely believes children deserve stability, love, and emotional security from the beginning of life. And perhaps that is why her interactions with children continue to feel so authentic. Even during serious professional discussions, her attention naturally drifts toward the children nearby. That became obvious during a visit to a children's mental health hospital focused on emotional support and healthy relationships. The official purpose of the engagement involved conversations with experts, staff members, and professionals discussing child development. But viewers watching the visit quickly became distracted by something unexpectedly adorable happening in the background. Even while participating in serious conversations, Catherine kept stopping to smile at babies nearby, wave at toddlers, and interact playfully with the children around her. The contrast became strangely heartwarming. One moment she was discussing emotional development, family support systems, and the importance of parental involvement. The next moment she was crouching beside a baby making funny expressions and smiling warmly. Those unscripted interactions often become the most memorable part of her engagements because they reveal how naturally she gravitates toward children even when cameras are not specifically focused on those moments. The same thing happened during an event with Olympic gold medalist Dame Kelly Holmes and her team. Nobody expected Catherine to participate directly in the activities. Most people assumed she would observe politely from the sidelines while the young girls took part in games and exercises. Instead, she suddenly jumped in herself. Laughing openly, Catherine joined the activity alongside the children, running and participating with surprising enthusiasm. For a few moments, the royal image disappeared completely. There was no formality left, just a group of girls having fun with someone who happened to be the future queen. For school children on a field trip, chatting casually with the future queen may become a story they tell for decades. And for millions watching around the world, these moments gradually reshape what royalty can look like in the modern era. Not distant, not untouchable, not emotionally cold, but human. That may ultimately become one of Catherine, Princess of Wales's greatest strengths as a future queen. Her ability to make extraordinary status feel surprisingly ordinary around children. Because whether she is kneeling in the mud beside toddlers, comforting families in hospices, or stopping royal convoys to greet excited schoolchildren, the moments people remember most are usually the simplest ones. A hug, a promise kept, a child laughing, a mother comforting another mother. And in those unscripted moments, the royal image disappears, leaving behind something far more powerful. As the royal convoy prepared to leave, most people assumed the engagement was over. Security staff were already moving ahead, photographers lowering their cameras as the cars slowly rolled forward. But then something unexpected happened. Catherine, Princess of Wales, suddenly noticed a cluster of excited children waving enthusiastically from the crowd. Instead of simply smiling through the car window and continuing on schedule, she immediately changed direction and headed straight toward them. The children could barely contain their excitement. "How old are you guys?" Catherine asked warmly as she approached, leaning down so she could speak to them properly. One little girl proudly showed off her bright pink outfit, while another excitedly tried to explain that it was her birthday. Catherine listened to every word as though she had nowhere else to be. It was one of those tiny moments that didn't feel royal at all. There was no stiffness, no carefully rehearsed interaction. It looked more like a kind woman refusing to ignore children who were genuinely excited to meet her. That is exactly why the clip spread so quickly online. People weren't reacting to a formal royal appearance. They were reacting to the visible sincerity of the interaction. Again and again, moments like these have quietly shaped the public image of the Princess of Wales. While previous generations of royals often maintained visible distance during engagements, Catherine frequently seems guided more by instinct than protocol when children are involved. Another unforgettable example happened during a crowded royal walkabout. As Catherine moved through a sea of people greeting members of the public, she nearly bumped into a small child who suddenly stepped forward unexpectedly. For a split second, everyone around seemed startled. But instead of reacting awkwardly or moving on quickly, Catherine burst into genuine laughter almost immediately. The child looked equally surprised while people nearby started laughing too. It was such a brief interaction, yet viewers loved it because it felt completely natural, the kind of spontaneous moment that could happen to any parent walking through a crowd with children around. That relaxed warmth is one reason children seem unusually comfortable around her. Perhaps one of the most touching moments of all occurred when Catherine actually stopped her royal convoy after hearing a little girl shouting for her from the roadside. The moment happened following a visit to a textile manufacturer. Catherine was already inside the vehicle preparing to leave when she suddenly heard a tiny voice repeatedly calling, "Hello, Princess." Most royal cars continue driving during departures, especially once security has already started moving. But Catherine immediately asked the driver to stop. When people think of the British royal family, they often imagine polished ceremonies, carefully rehearsed appearances, and strict royal protocol. Public emotion is usually restrained. Royal engagements are timed down to the minute. Every gesture is watched by cameras across the world. But over the years, Catherine, Princess of Wales, has quietly changed that image, especially when children are involved. Again and again, she has shown moments that felt deeply human rather than royal. From comforting grieving mothers to kneeling in muddy forests beside toddlers, from chatting naturally with children on school trips to stopping official walkabouts just to greet excited young fans, Catherine has built a reputation for something rare in modern public life: genuine warmth that doesn't look staged. And perhaps what touches people most is that these moments never appear calculated. They happen unexpectedly, often in between official duties, when cameras happen to catch the future queen lowering the walls of royalty and simply becoming Kate around children and families. One of the most emotional moments came during a charity engagement for the East Anglia Children's Hospice, a cause that has remained close to Catherine's heart for many years. At the time, she was pregnant and serving as Duchess of Cambridge. The event itself was meant to raise awareness and support for children with life-threatening illnesses. But nobody expected the deeply personal scene that unfolded in front of reporters and guests. During the engagement, Catherine met a grieving mother named Leah Smith, whose baby daughter, Beatrice, had passed away from a rare heart condition. Royal protocol often creates a certain emotional distance during public interactions. Usually there is a handshake, a few carefully chosen words, and then the royal moves along the line of guests. But this interaction became something entirely different. As Leah spoke about her daughter and the support the hospice had provided during the hardest days of her life, Catherine's expression visibly changed. Cameras captured tears forming in her eyes. Then, without hesitation, she stepped forward and embraced the grieving mother in a heartfelt hug. For many people watching, it was one of the rare moments where the title disappeared completely. There was no future queen in that instant. There was simply one mother comforting another mother who had experienced unimaginable pain. The emotional moment resonated around the world because it felt real. There was no dramatic speech, no press statement, no carefully choreographed photo opportunity. Just compassion. Leah later explained how much the hospice had meant to her family and how extraordinary the staff had been during Beatrice's final days. But people also remembered Catherine's reaction because it reflected something many had noticed about her for years. When she meets children or struggling families, she doesn't speak to them as distant royal figures often once did. She interacts with them directly, emotionally, and personally. That same natural approach appeared again during an engagement connected to her Shaping Us initiative, which focuses on the importance of early childhood development. Catherine joined a group of school children during a trip to the National Portrait Gallery. At first, people expected a standard royal appearance, a brief greeting, a few photographs, and a quick departure before the schedule moved on. Instead, Catherine stayed with the children throughout the outing. She chatted with them naturally, laughed with them, listened to their stories, and joined them as if she were simply another adult supervising the school trip. One of the most charming parts of the visit came when she rode with the children on the bus, turning what could have been a formal appearance into an unforgettable memory for the students. Imagine being a child on an ordinary school trip and suddenly realizing the future queen is sitting nearby asking questions about your day. For those children, the moment didn't feel stiff or ceremonial. It felt strangely normal, which is exactly why people loved it so much. Observers have often noted that Catherine possesses a rare ability to make children feel comfortable almost immediately. Unlike many public figures who become overly formal around cameras, she tends to lower herself physically to a child's eye level, speak gently, and allow conversations to unfold naturally. That instinct became especially visible during her long-running work surrounding children's mental health. Over the years, Catherine has repeatedly emphasized that emotional well-being in childhood shapes the rest of a person's life. During Children's Mental Health Week, she delivered one of her most personal public messages about why the issue matters so deeply to her. Rather than speaking in broad political language, she explained the subject through her own upbringing and experiences as a parent. She said she cared about children's mental health because she herself had been fortunate enough to grow up in a loving, supportive environment where she felt safe expressing herself. And because she had experienced that stability, she believed every child deserved the same opportunity. What made the speech resonate with so many people was its sincerity. It didn't sound like a royal reading lines prepared by advisors. It sounded like a mother thinking about the world her own children would grow up in. Catherine explained that she and Prince William wanted to teach their children, Prince George of Wales, Princess Charlotte of Wales, and later Prince Louis of Wales, the importance of kindness, emotional openness, empathy, and resilience. People often forget that royal children live under extraordinary public pressure from the moment they are born. Yet Catherine consistently speaks about giving them as normal and emotionally grounded an upbringing as possible. Those values also appear in the way she interacts with seriously ill children. During another visit to East Anglia Children's Hospice, cameras captured Catherine speaking with young patients facing incredibly difficult medical conditions. What stood out wasn't simply her presence there, it was the language she used. Many adults unintentionally speak differently to children with serious illnesses. Sometimes voices become overly sympathetic or patronizing.